Good afternoon, comic book fans. Welcome back to Comics in 5 Minutes, kind of. As you can probably guess from the title of this one, I'm doing something a little bit different today. I hinted that I'll be doing this in an earlier actual comic book review. So if you have comic books, I'm afraid this is going to be a bit different. This is a request from my business partner and the people he's friends with online because he discovered a few people with similar interest because of the Warhammer 40,000 comic book by Kieran Gillett. Absolutely excellent, one of my top reads of the previous year. And when we got the Warhammer 40,000 action figures in, he was like, well, you should totally do a YouTube review about them. And I'm like, I don't know enough about action figures. I don't collect action figures. I've not played with action figures since I was a kid, barring a brief dalliance in my early 30s with Transformers. So I just thought, okay, the only one really way to do it, and that's actually just to have a look and see what I can talk about. And I have no idea if action figure fans are going to find anything I'm saying remotely interesting, but I'm going to have fun anyway. So what we're reviewing is this. Warhammer 40,000, and the full title, is Adepta Sororitas Battle Sister. This is actually one of two in a set that's come out because they do the artist proof versions as well, basically unpainted. As you can see, there's the ones there. Now, I was going to wait until we had a few more in so I could talk about more of them, but because of some licensing restrictions that kind of time with a lot of licensed products, some of our orders for action figures have already been cancelled from McFarlane Toys tied into Warhammer 40,000. We've still got some on order, but it just means we don't know when we're going to get anything anymore. So I figured, if I've got something to talk about, I might as well talk about it. And I do quite like these figures. They are of a slightly larger size than I'm used to. Like, I'm used to a 6-inch figure, and this is 7. And it's not like it's a big difference, but it does feel a bit more hefty. And for a McFarlane Toys thing, it's almost about £5 more than you're expecting. Most stuff we sell in store is between $16.99 and $18.99. Maybe a £20 one if it's part of a build-a-figure thing. But for an extra £5, you can't really just be saying it's because of the license thing either, because all the McFarlane Toys action figures are licensed for something. The vast majority of the £20 ones you buy in a case, and it's video games, manga, I'm thinking My Hero Academia, Cyberpunk, Call of Duty, Attack on Titan, all that kind of thing. Basically, they're all box standard, $19.99 in store. These ones definitely do feel chunky, definitely bigger. I kind of wish I grabbed just a standard McFarlane Toys one, actually, the difference. Fun of doing this live, but they are significantly, noticeably a more chunky kind of thing. Now, any other comparison wheel is going to be a little bit hindered, simply because I don't want to go opening up a whole bunch of action figures just so I can play around with them, because it's a lot harder to sell action figures once they've been handled. A comic book is kind of an accepted thing people are going to open up and sort of flick through it, so I can kind of get away a little bit reviewing all of those. These are actually sealed in boxes. I don't know if you can see, but yeah, there's actually tape on both ends of these so people can't just open and play with them. And as much as I don't do that for all action figures, I figured, well, I'm actually a 40k fan. Have been since I was a kid. Recently got back into painting the models as well as reading a whole bunch of stuff about it. Still looking forward to a decent video game in 40k universe. So I thought, I might as well open one up. But for a bit of difference, I've opened up what they call the artist proof one. It's basically the exact same model, but unpainted. And it still gives me a chance to actually talk about the stuff that I like about it. Number one, the detail on them is spectacular. I mean, I'm used to good McFarlane Toys anyway, but this is almost like the kind of resin cast versions they do of actual Warhammer figures. The fact that it's this kind of thing as well means if I want to, I could actually paint it. And I've got to say straight off, that's just a fun thing for me. As somebody who's painted quite a lot of Warhammer and 40k miniatures in my day, there's always a point in a fixed model where you just really wish there wasn't something in the way, because you're trying to weave a very fine paintbrush through a gap to paint the underside of somebody's thigh. Whereas these, I can literally just move things out of the way. When I say move things out of the way, I mean this even here actually has an almost cloth-like feel to it as I can move it. And if I get nice and close there, it has a cloth-like texture to it as well. It means that's going to be really fun to paint. I can actually do dry brushing and stuff like that on there. Other amazing details you get. I'll try and get one here with the light on it. Now, quite a basic looking gun on that one, but when you get to close detail on the other stuff on there, the webbing on the belt, again, these belt items are all totally separate, totally movable and posable, and the amount of articulation on this thing is really quite cool. I was playing around with it earlier, trying to figure out if I could put the weapons on it and still make it stand up. Turns out it's hard, but not impossible. Would be a darn sight easier if I pay a little bit more attention when I was unpacking it. I realised this literally before the video started. It does have a little stand in there, which is a very nice little touch. But I did manage to make it stand up on its own, which is kind of cool. And that's a good one, because the very large backpack on there actually is a balance issue for it. So I think even with the stand, you need to be careful about how you post it. The picture they have from having posed slightly different to mine. So I've even put like the weapons far further out. In the picture they've got of it, the gun is down to the side, sword up over the top there. So I'm trying to do this in a way that's not going to ruin people's view. But I did it with extended limbs, and it still stood up okay, which is really quite cool. I think some people will talk about like points of articulation or something, and one of the things I do like is you've even got this little bit here. So when you use that, obviously to put standing, you can have them not just basically standing bolt upright. You can pose them with legs bent, waist twisted. I think one of the few things you can't really move around much is the head. You get like a slight little bit of give, but I really don't want to push it any further than that. So that is kind of fixed place. But other than that, genuinely cool little action figure. Will this get me collecting action figures? I don't think so. I'm mainly buying this one for the fun of it and because I've just opened it up, so I have to. But I do like what they do, and I do like what you get. That probably is the last action figure review I'm going to do, unless it turns out everyone loves it. So come back next week, and I'll do more comic book stuff. Until then, stay safe, everyone. Look after each other. Bye.